At what age do you, as a parent, think it's okay for your child to have sex? I'm asking myself that question.
Yeah.
Welcome to Girls Gone Gritty. I'm Farley Boyle, girl mom.
And I'm Jennifer Brenius, boy mom.
Together, we're Team Boyle-Renius. Each other's ride
Or die. This is where grit gets real. We don't just talk, we do it.
We're here for the messy stories, the hard-fought lessons, and the courage it takes to keep showing up.
Especially when it's uncomfortable. We bring gratitude and attitude to everything we do.
We jump in head first, unafraid, and are all in all the time.
We bring it on and get it on, diving into unscripted conversations on just about everything.
We don't just talk grit, we live it.
We put the it in grit.
So let's get gritty.
Thank you for tuning in to Girls Gone Gritty. We are here on another Thursday in January. It is continuing to be a bold start to 26. So hopefully you're cozy and able to enjoy our episodes at home, snuggled up, working on your vision board, and you're not in a depression like we are with our kids going back to school. It was a fast and furious, and now they have returned.
My daughter's departure, very last second, it was, Mom, did you get my oil changed? Of course, I took her car to get it serviced. We had some issues with her car, and I didn't see an itemization. Sure enough, I did not get her oil changed, and she was 600 miles over, and she's about to drive back to Columbus.
It's amazing how our children have these cars that are theirs, yet they take absolutely zero responsibility for them.
Mom for the win again. Mom made it happen, and then as soon as she drove away, I get a reminder that she is past due for servicing 600 miles over. That's how we found out how many miles over her oil change she was.
Oops.
Coincidentally today.
That's what happens when you drive back and forth to Ohio. My kids go back and forth to Florida in the truck, and it's very stressful. Each of them have AAA, and we've had many issues.
Your kids' cars tuned up before you send them back on the road. If you have a little time between now and when they leave, don't wait till the last second.
Or even better, get them to do it.
True. Very true. Very true.
We're taking responsibility for our top 3 this week because they're all over the map.
Start us off.
Number 3, add out, insane tennis schedule, says Sabalenka. Find me. I'm taking back control.
Good for her. I just went and saw some event at Madison Square Garden, and it was an exhibition game with Sabalenka. And it was a waste of time. She was half into it and half not, but I don't blame her. And unless she's making a big appearance fee, I know that they have to have a certain number of points before they get fined. But if she feels like she needs to rest her body and she is not willing to continue to do some of these events prior to the Australian Open because she wants to ensure that she's not going to get injured, good for her.
Yeah. I understand the way you have to qualify for any of these major competitive sports. If you look at the tour schedule, it's actually insane. Even when you look at with the golf schedule and the tennis, and those are 2 sports that you think are less taxing, unlike a basketball or a baseball schedule, they are equally as demanding of a schedule for these professional athletes. So it's great to have somebody that can be a leader in that space.
And the burnout is real. These pros, they're all playing so many hours a week that at some point burnout is bound to happen. So if she feels the burnout, I think she's being proactive and taking charge of her body by saying, hey, I need a break. And a lot more people need to say, I need a break, because when your body is letting you know that there's something not right and you keep playing on it, you're bound to injure yourself. Take it from me.
Yeah, especially when you're a one sport professional athlete. That's a tough thing. But they just said tennis is one of the fountain of youth sports.
Because you socialize and you move. It's a great sport that you can do your whole life.
Yeah, I can thank my co-host for pulling me into that insanity, because I stayed away from it for years because people are cuckoo. But anyway, that brings us to number 2. Plastic surgery, crazy talk for babyface Bradley Cooper. He's dispelled the rumors, people.
He's so cute. I think men get better looking with age. And because he looks good, there's haters. I think it's funny that there's male haters making him come to the table on whether or not he's had plastic surgery. He has not had plastic surgery, but he stopped drinking for 21 years. He's sober. And guess what? When you're drinking and coking and you're in the drugs, rock and roll life, it ages you dramatically. And he has been taking care of himself and not doing those things for the last 21 years. And it shows.
When you stop at 29, you've gotten ahead of it.
He aired it out.
Good for him.
Did what he did, and he stopped, and he looks great at 51.
Yeah.
Good for you, Bradley.
Number 1. The rules for the FDA are upside down again. Inversions abound thanks to RFK's food pyramid.
This food pyramid makes sense to me.
Absolutely.
I think this is going to be an episode because it's finally getting to where it should be. Food in general. Ice cream is going to be 3 ingredients again instead of 17, and 13 of them you can't even pronounce. So we are thrilled with the new pyramid. And if you haven't seen it, you should take a look because we're going to post it on.
We were looking at this and it just inverted from when we were kids. And there's been multiple iterations of the food pyramid. And what we want to know is how much we're in bed with the big 7 food companies. Hopefully we can unravel some of that.
Right. And it's protein. Have your dairy, drink vitamin D whole milk, have whole versions of the dairy that you prefer instead of fat-free.
2%, 1% dairy-free, soy. I mean, there's so many opportunities and options. And I think
we're going back to like
basics.
Yeah.
If you can read the label,
drink the milk from the cow, eat a chicken, eat the eggs from a chicken, and
you know where it came from. Yeah. It's probably better for you. I don't know why it took so long for us to figure this out. And I actually do, because who's in charge? The big businesses. And hopefully we're taking all that back.
Yes. Let's talk about taking things back or giving it up a little. The conversation we're having today is about virginity and what age do we think it's okay? And what age do we think it's happening currently? And when did we lose our virginity? It's a conversation worth having with your kids. It has to be discussed. It's going to happen. Celibacy is about 1%. I don't even know. And it's not realistic to say that many teenagers are going to remain celibate throughout their college career and sleep with the person that they are going to marry.
And when you look at the numbers, there's pockets of places that are faster than others. If you live in a big city versus spread out in a rural area, the chance that you find somebody that's attractive or that you have energy with is going to be increased. For the most part, the number is 17 years old, which I think is actually, it's pretty reasonable. Obviously, that's a median.
It says 16 to 20 in many of the articles that I've read. 17, that's a little bit old. And I'm all for it. But it's not as realistic. I think 16, sweet 16, I think it happens in that realm, and it might have been the realm that I was in, and I was not fast. I dated my boyfriend my freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, and it was expected because all of our friends were having sex. Why aren't you guys? I was terrified. My parents were scary, and I was afraid of getting pregnant. And I remember watching an ABC after school special about teenage pregnancy and this girl going to high school with a big belly. I was terrified of all of it, yet attracted to my boyfriend and naturally curious about things.
Well, of course, because here's the reality. Hormonally, that's the best time for you to have a baby is 16 to 20. That's when you're in your prime for pregnancy.
Girls are getting their periods when they're 12 now.
For optimal birthing, they say, around 16 to 20, which is in line with your sexual identity. And it's when you're figuring out sex, and it's when a lot of people have their first encounter. And my first encounter wasn't really great. It was a boyfriend, but it wasn't lights out crazy rockets.
I think anybody has that for their first experience. And if they do, they're lying because you're inexperienced. And I wasn't watching porn. I wasn't playing with toys. I know.
There wasn't porn. There might have been a Playboy when we were kids, but it wasn't helping us figure things out. And I don't think that porn's helping anybody figure it out now, because that's not love and sex. That's just porn. It's in a different category. But trying to have these conversations, I have boys. So the conversation in my house is not centered around mom and the boys. It's centered around be nice, be respectful, be smart. Don't get yourself in a position where you make a terrible decision. Now, that's all very topical. That's not going into the nitty gritty. That's where in my household, dad kicks in.
That's absolutely not going to happen at my household with my 3 girls. Dad wears a shirt that says, Dad's against daughters dating with a handgun on it. So he's not going to have a conversation about any of it. And to tell you the truth, I almost feel like that might be why my girls haven't had boyfriends. Mackenzie had a boyfriend in college, but it seems like the trend nowadays is that people are talking and snapping and they hook up. I don't even know what hooking up is. That might be the talking part. I get so confused with all the language. But not a lot of people are dating and intimate in a way where you see the relationship evolve. They're going to a movie, they're holding hands, they're going out to dinner. The way that we used to date, it was mandatory for me to do that type of dating with my parents. My parents set boundaries. I was not allowed to leave the house in a car until I was 16. And then it had to be a day date, like a matinee. And maybe we could go out for dinner. I had to work my way up to that, but there had to be dates. It wasn't just like, hey, he's coming over and we're just going to go hang out in my bedroom. That wasn't allowed.
I think that the kids are less likely to give up their time. I think that with the way that you can be so busy with so many things, your girls, especially in high school, leading them into college, were very busy and focused on sports. And that was their goal and that was their time. And I feel this way with my boys. Now, two of my boys have very serious girlfriends. My number 3 guy is dating. He alludes to seeing people. We don't have much information on it, but I do think that they're more in tune with how much time this person takes from my time. I do think that this generation is more cognizant of, you have to earn my time.
My girls say, oh, I'm going to go on a ride. I'm going to go on a drive. And they get picked up and mysteriously whisked away. And sometimes it's to go get ice cream and sometimes it's to go watch the sunset. And they might not be dating this person, but that's the way people hook up if they're not hooking up at a party.
And are they going by themselves when they go on these routes?
It's just a group. No, it's just the two. It's like a girl and a boy, and they're going to go for a drive. And the drive could be Sandy Hook, or it could be to Lighthouse.
It sounds like the 50s when people would go to Lookout Point and make out.
That. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
No, definitely not.
That's what I want to see.
In a parked car someplace.
Yes. Where'd you lose your virginity?
Not in a parked car.
Neither did I, but.
Thank you very much. Not that I didn't hook up in parked cars here and there, but
everybody should hook up in a parked car.
Smooches in the parked car when you were little, when you were young in high school, were the best.
For sure.
They were the best because you felt like cozy and safe. And
you could even have music going. Yes. If the car was on.
Yeah. And the old school cars, one of the cars that I hooked up with one of my boyfriends was one of those full bench seats. It was his grandfather's car. And it had a full long front seat that was like super wide. The cars of yesteryear were not these bucket seats that we sit in with the center console in the middle and you can't get to the person. They were made to snuggle.
So funny. At what age do you as a parent think it's okay for your child to have sex? I'm asking myself that question.
Yeah.
For me, I think my girls, if they were in a relationship, if they were dating somebody and I saw them going through the motions of dating and respecting each other, going out to the movies, to dinner, to hanging out on the weekends, to the boy coming over and being a part of our family and sitting down at the dinner table, I would expect that would be in line with sex eventually happening. And I would be okay with it because it's unrealistic to say that it's not going to happen. And if you say, no, you cannot, and you can get pregnant and this and that, people like to do what's taboo.
Just like our drinking situation.
It is.
You can't keep it so far away from them that when they break the rule, they're getting away with something. And you don't want that moment to be a defiant moment. Like, I'm going to do it because you didn't let me. That's the wrong motivation. And hopefully whatever age you've chosen to let your child engage in sexual behavior, it's coming, to your point, but you want them to do it in a way that at least feels intentional, not in a drunken state, not in a state of panic or being forced.
But it takes inhibitions away. I feel like that's definitely how a lot of my friends had their first experience, the lack of inhibitions when you drink a little bit. And I agree with you. You do not want to be drunk on
ideally. We're talking ideally.
Yes.
We're talking ideally.
However, reality.
You have to have some alcohol to have sex these days. I'm married for almost 30 years this year. Sometimes it just has to be.
Makes it a little more fun.
It does make it a lot.
The hard thing with girls is I want to have a conversation with them where they're comfortable coming to me. And, if one of them did say, I really like them and I think we're going in this direction, I would absolutely want to be able to say, okay, let's talk about birth control because you definitely can get pregnant. And let's talk about STDs because those are real too. Yeah. If you haven't had that conversation with your kids and they're, teenagers or they're in college, it's never too late. And I feel very comfortable talking to my girls about this. And they were all on the pill because of being athletes to control that time of the month in sports, which works beautifully. That doesn't mean that you're risk-free from everything else.
Definitely
you
not.
really have to have the STD conversation because they're rampantly running all over the place. And you want your child to know that that can be a repercussion. That's the law out. If you're not prepared or if you haven't really thought about it and you're just winging it.
Sex should be a part of who you are. It's part of your identity, right? You have a sexual identity and a sexual relationship first with yourself without being weird, but knowing who you are sexually and what you like and what you don't like. And that
you have to experiment to figure it out.
As very little as somebody who doesn't like to be physically touched. Some people
don't
PDA. Want to be hugged. They don't want to kiss in public. And that's part of figuring out what you want as a sexual partner.
Agreed.
And if we can make sure as a society and as parents to not make sex something that's outside of who they are, I think is a really healthy way to address it because it's normal.
Normal.
And I don't know that I necessarily felt that way. I know the conversations around sex have become much more open since we were kids.
Before it was like almost dirty. You were like naughty or you weren't allowed and it had that stigma. So the last thing I was going to do was talk to my parents about my relationship and what was happening. And I was watching what all my friends were doing. And I think I shared in one of our episodes that my mom definitely eavesdropped and intercepted notes and things like that. And she heard me say that a couple of my friends had just had sex and she scared the crap out of me because she looked at me and said, "Oh, Kathy walks differently. She must have lost her virginity." And I remember thinking, holy smokes. And I had not lost my virginity yet. And I thought, oh, mom, my mom's going to be able to tell I'm going to walk differently. And I kept on having this conversation with my friends and my boyfriend and all this built up. And I think I had sex for the first time my junior year on prom, homecoming, Valentine's Day. Those were the days that I felt crazy enough to do it.
I looked up because I wanted to know if a doctor can check to see if you've lost your virginity.
In the royal days, they did.
They did.
They could say
actually, it's not true. The hymen.
The hymen.
The hymen is the
not the Heimlich.
Nope, no. That's
the Heimlich.
Life. Not that either. The hymen is intact, and that's actually unfair from everything I read because it's a membrane. It completely depends on who you are, to the rigidity and the density of it. Some people might just have thin ones. Some people, because of use of tampons or athletic, may have lost their hymen without having been sexually active.
Okay.
But the interesting thing, and this is crazy to me, when I was Googling this, there is a bill in the state of New York that will amend the public health law to prohibit virginity examinations.
Who's doing virginity examinations anymore?
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Religion somewhere?
I guess so. But they're
bizarre.
There are these doctors.
Chastity? Are they wearing chastity?
They're doctors that actually will test kids because they're most of the time it's a parent bringing their kid in
to
see if they're sexually active.
Weird.
And they're saying that this is an accurate test. Your child could be telling you the truth that they haven't had sex, and it comes up that you're sexually active.
Whoa.
And it's also a huge mental strain on the poor child. So isn't that crazy in 2026 that this bill is still not passed?
Very strange. It's a conversation worth having, talking to a girl about having her cherry popped. I was scared of that. I didn't know what that meant. I was asking, but no one, they don't remember seeing any blood, or we didn't know what that meant. So I was thinking it was going to be a painful situation or messy or embarrassing. And
the whole conversation is painful. I don't even like the way that comes out.
But that's why you have to have it. And you want the kids to have an awkward first experience on some level, because if they were professionals the first time out, half of the battle is figuring it out together, and the awkwardness makes you closer, and it's intimate to the point where you shared something with someone. And I feel like the younger generation, if they are having sex in high school, then you get that little jealousy thing because you're each other's first and no one else is going to be your first. So you have this feeling of I was yours and you were mine, and that bonds us for life. And it kind of does. You always remember your first if it was done in the right way. But I know that there's a lot of kids now that are stressed out as they're leaving for college and they're virgins. And they haven't had an experience and they haven't had a relationship. And for whatever reason, they feel terrified about going to college as a virgin. I mean, as a virgin.
As a virgin. As a virgin. Little drink with that.
As virgins.
Well, yeah. Well, you don't want to feel like you're the person who's showing up without being educated on something at that age, no matter what it is. And that's such a big thing that, again, goes back to your identity. If you haven't had sex and everybody else is, you feel like you
inferior.
You
feel inferior.
You don't even
weird.
You can't even participate in the conversation because you haven't had sex. You don't know what it's like.
Right.
You really like you don't. You don't know.
It's almost like letting your kids start to drink a little bit in high school before you send them out the door to college. You want to see how they're going to act. You want them to have some of their first experiences, under your roof. I'm not saying your first sexual experiences should be under your roof, but
maybe they should.
You just don't want to send a kid out the door feeling inadequate because they've never touched booze, they've never had a sexual experience, and now they're experiencing freedom like they've never had it before for the most part. And they're off at school and they're trying to impress people. They're trying to fit in. They want to be a part of the conversation.
Sure.
I feel like the old school way of no, you should not have sex and
don't ask, don't tell. I think my opinion, when you talk to your parents later as adults, they were like, oh, we knew, but we didn't acknowledge it. That's a huge difference in my household. And it's not just as far as virginity and sexuality. It's across the board where we address things much more. When you were a young man, when I was growing up, 70s and 80s, boys didn't talk about their feelings.
No.
That has changed so much. And sexuality is just a piece of that.
I don't know if it's changed in my house. I don't know that my husband's talking about his feelings ever.
No, I'm not talking about your husband. I'm talking about today's society. You don't just man up and suck it up and deal with it. The boys are more likely to say, oh, I'm having a really hard day. And, that's a badge of honor and a badge of strength to say having a mental health day. Like that was never done.
No, that was definitely never done.
Again, I just feel like sex was not discussed as openly.
No, it wasn't. It was on an ABC after school special and you were terrified that you were going to be the teenage pregnant person. And I was terrified that something would go wrong and it would ruin my life and I wouldn't be able to play sports and go off to college. I'm in admiration of these kids that get pregnant in high school and go through with the pregnancy. When I was growing up, they had a special school that kids that got pregnant would all go from all the boroughs, which was nice. But there's kids that are going to RFH that are pregnant and they're going from class to class and it's not frowned upon. And it might be atypical, but I think it's great. I don't think that they should have to go somewhere else unless they're learning home ec and how to cook and how to do laundry and how to do things that would prepare for the family that they're about to have add water and stir.
I think it's whatever makes you comfortable. And we talked about it with our pro-choice, pro-life episode where I don't know what it's like to be in your shoes. So let's make it as best of an experience for you.
Right.
And you can develop who you are the best you can if you're in that situation. And back to the virginity situation, that's what you want there too. You want them to feel comfortable, feel confident. And listen, there's also a movement with a lot of the religious experience that has become more of a groundswell with our youth because of the disconnect of technology. There are kids that are deciding to be holdouts that want to wait until married.
Charlie Kirk and his wife.
It's not a steadfast thing like any and most things. Each kid is different. My 4 boys, I talk to each one of them in a different way, not only based on their age, but based on who they are.
Right.
Some of them want to hear it a certain way. Others want to figure it out. Other people want to give me every last detail and create a roadmap. Some of them want to not hear from me at all.
I feel like my girls are private, but I've had conversations with them, whether they wanted to have a conversation with me or not. I said what I wanted them to hear, which is what I think we all need to do as parents. Whatever your position is, if you are anti-sex, then tell them you're anti-sex and You do not think that they're old enough to have sex because they would not be able to deal with the repercussions if somebody got pregnant. That's the old way. But
Right.
it's a personal decision in each household. I personally think it's highly likely that a child is going to have an experience in high school of some sort sexually. And you would hope that they would prior to going to college so they can be a part of the conversation and not feel like they have something to prove and not feel like they're wearing the scarlet letter on their forehead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's different for boys. Boys get notches on their belt.
I don't know if well, listen, I can't talk about every boy anymore. I don't feel that way. I don't get the sense of that when the boys are around girls where it's like a conquest as much anymore. I don't see that, but I'm not out with them on a Saturday night at 2:00 in the morning.
Booty call.
Correct. So who knows what the truth is on. I do think if you are having those conversations with your kids, Farley and I have always talked about, if it's not me, make sure it's somebody they feel that they can come to, right? So if my kids couldn't come to me on something for fear of whatever, not being able to be truthful, they know that they could come to Farley or go to my sister, depending upon what the situation was. So it's really important, if you don't feel that you're the right person to have these tough conversations with your kids, that somebody in their universe that you know, love and trust that they can go to.
You want your child to have more than one experience. I remember thinking you want to be with one person your whole entire life. And I just don't know how realistic that is. You hope you fall in love with just one person. But I also think we replay our memories over and over again. You have to figure out if you like something and if this works and if there's chemistry, and there's a lot of things that go into relationships and being sexually active. And you might not be into that person sexually and you turn the page. Should we all just have one partner because it's the morally correct way, or are we going to frown upon that now? You know, you don't get many chances to do it over and over again when you're single, young, and carefree and all that.
You go to the villages in Florida and then you do whatever you want, from what I understand.
I can't even believe that I'm talking like this. My parents were so strict, but now I think that you need to have more than one partner to see what you like and to grow sexually.
Yeah. And I don't know what the number is. I don't know that it's 100. And there's people that,
oh gosh,
that
who's
I
that
know,
crazy girl
that I know that there's, oh gosh, that was a
terrible story.
Terrible, horrible permutation of social media. If I've ever seen one. I mean,
I think she slept with 1,000 people or something.
Like 24 hours. Yeah. There's a do not repeat. At the end of the day, respect yourself and figure out what makes you happy and be true to that, and you'll be fine. And listen, I pray that she's okay after that. They were saying shortly thereafter she was suicidal, that there's the other thing. Yeah, you don't have to give it away. You don't have to feel pressured to do it. Stay true to you, the best that you can.
And hopefully you like the person that you're having your first experience with, because it makes it that much better.
And the person you're still having your experience with. And you don't need too much alcohol or Cali soberness for the month of January.
Exactly.
When everything's white and pale and
please. We're going to dial back and go into a healthy conversation about my Got Grit Award winner.
I'm happy about the Got Grit Award winner coming off of December, because it's a month of excess. And as I always say, from Halloween to New Year's Eve is eating season, and January becomes reassess, reevaluate. How's your vision board going? And what am I doing?
Everybody's California sober, dry January, or starting their diet or their new exercise regime. So hats off to Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for the ripple that he has made in a short amount of time in office. We have talked about food and nutrition a lot over the last 2 years that we've been podcasting, and he's behind a lot of those changes. He is adamant about not having additives and preservatives, about this inversion of the food pyramid, and it all is making sense. He's the one that is confirming it's not terrible to drink vitamin D full milk.
Unless you're lactose intolerant.
Well,
I'll stick with my oat milk.
The new food pyramid with red meat, cheese, vegetables, and fruits pictured at the top is a healthy, well-balanced, common sense diet. And too much of anything is not good. We know that. They're saying alcohol isn't healthy. And they're going out on a limb and finally saying that if you can not drink, it's better for you.
And that's another area where we talked about our youth earlier. And that's where they've definitely cut back is the alcohol.
And sugar, a demon, and everybody knows it. Kennedy described the guidelines as the most significant reset on nutrition policy in history, calling for an end to policies that promote highly refined foods that are harmful to our health. Thank you.
And let's hope that the next step that he can take is to unravel all of these large lobbying organizations that are in this food industry that we have lost control of. And I hope that he can do that, because that's really where we'll make an impact, because there are 7 companies that own freaking everything. And if God didn't make it, rethink whether or not you're consuming it.
Well, he's known for agency transparency. He has focused on ending the revolving door between federal health agencies like the FDA and the pharmaceutical and agricultural industries to reduce corporate influence.
Yeah.
Which sums up exactly what you just said.
Yeah. The lobbying has become the issue.
Sara Lee, Nabisco, infused sugars so we get addicted. We're going back to basic ingredients. So RFK, thank you for making that a reality.
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited about this song of the week because this person has not been on tour or put out anything new in a really long time. If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. We find out what we're made of when we're called to help out our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3. Bruno Mars is back. He's releasing an album. Isn't that exciting? Oh my God, he's so great. I saw him twice.
I would love to see him live. He's on my bucket list for sure.
He's announced his tour. He's going to be here next September in the New York area. So Bruno Mars, 24 Karat, and we value you like gold. You are our listeners. You are our heart and soul. And we appreciate the fact that you're going to have gritty conversations with your family members. Hopefully this struck not the hymen, but another chord.
And with this episode is sponsored by Trojan. Does Trojan even exist anymore? I think so. Okay. Cheers to having real conversations about real things that matter, like sex.
And having great sex.
Yes.
Whenever you do have it.
Okay.
Let's go.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Girls Gone Gritty.
Visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and now TikTok.
If this episode hits home, share it with someone who needs to get gritty.
Own it and put the it in grit.
See you next episode.